Syracuse might have had a sour first game versus UNC Asheville, but it doesn't matter now that the Orange is in the Sweet 16. NCAA tournament, Wisconsin stands between SU and its first Elite Eight since 2003. You click the link, so clearly you want a preview. It begins now. Welcome in the Cuse Countdown. Happy to give you another basketball show. Chris Lewis, John Nolan, Ben Peck. Before Syracuse's first game, Fab Mello wasn't eligible, and before the second game, Jamar Samuels ineligible. Are you two eligible for this show?
I don't know about Ben, but I do my homework. I've been studying this SU-Wisconsin matchup. We're ready.
I sure hope so after the spring break I had.
Now let's take a look how Syracuse got to this point in the NCAA tournament. Thankfully for Syracuse, you don't really need style points to advance. Syracuse was able to beat UNC Asheville. It was about as ugly as a 1 versus a 16 gets. The Cuse got that W, moved on to face Kansas State. The rebounding bullies from the Big 12 were unable to keep pace with the hot shooting Orange. As a result, it's a meeting with Wisconsin with the Elite Eight on the line. Successful basketball might not get uglier than Wisconsin. Ugly if you like scoring. The Badgers give up the fewest points per game in the nation with their slow half-court pace. Luckily for Syracuse, the team isn't looking to win pretty.
How no one seed's supposed to play? We won. We won a game. That's all that matters. It don't matter about if we play good or bad. You know, we won in advance. That's what this tournament is about. You know, we've seen a lot of upsets. Number 2, lost to a number 15 seed. That's what this tournament is about.
With Wisconsin's top-ranked defense, it could be a challenge for Syracuse to score. But what about the Badgers against the Orange defense? Jordan Taylor is the team's leading scorer, and he shoots 36% from behind the arc. Coach Bill Ryan identifies that as one of the ways to beat the zone.
And the teams that are successful get a little bit inside and out. You know, it comes from both ends. There are teams that maybe shot it real well from 3 that were able to bump them. Teams that could get maybe second shots, which are rare because they are so long.
Fact error. Syracuse has been having problems finishing defensive possessions with a rebound. Syracuse has been near the bottom of all 345 Division I teams in defensive rebounding percentage. And K-State pounded the Cuse with 22 offensive rebounds. The bigs down low continue to be a point of emphasis.
The last probably 5 or 6 weeks, he's been playing more at center in practice and working more inside game, inside drill work, and I think he's getting better all the time.
This year, Wisconsin has taught everybody how to bucket. That's what happens when you go 12-6 in the Big Ten. The Badgers are known for their careful style of play, which is why the team has had the fewest amount of turnovers in the conference. But Ryan's squad has a few marquee wins, including number 2 seed in the East region, Ohio State. For more Wisconsin perspective, we're joined by writer Mike Rothstein of ESPN.com. The Big East and the Big Ten might be the complete opposites in terms of style of play. The Big East is known for its fast-paced, physical style of play, and the Big Ten known for that slow-it-down style. What will be Wisconsin's approach?
Well, I think the main thing that Wisconsin will have to do is just really stick with what got them there, as cliche as that is. Because what Wisconsin does is they run a swing offense. They haven't done it not as much this year, but they like to slow down the pace to play. They'll be content passing it around the perimeter for 25, 26 seconds and then waiting to attack or get Jordan Taylor in isolation or take a three-point shot.
This year, Jordan Taylor has stepped into Wisconsin's main scoring role. How has he adjusted to being the number 1 option on a team that plays a lot of close games?
In Big Ten play, he got adjusted to that and had just another remarkable season. He doesn't turn the ball over, and that'll be a very interesting matchup, I think, against Syracuse's zone because their zone is obviously very aggressive, but Taylor's very good with the ball, and he makes very smart decisions. It should be a very slow-paced but interesting matchup.
As you said, Taylor doesn't turn the ball over, and neither does this Wisconsin team. So how can Syracuse have an advantage over the Badgers?
However, I think what Syracuse can do is just, run the zone because it's a zone that is unlike any other zone in college basketball. And I would be very surprised if Jim Boeheim doesn't throw another wrinkle in there this week and just to really try to push the pace. If you can get Wisconsin going at a fast pace, if you can somehow take the pace of the game from Wisconsin, you'll win.
Mike Rothstein, thank you so much for your time. So we have the background info. Now it's time to get analytical. John and Ben tell you what to expect at the CC touchscreen.
That's right, Chris. Me and John are going to take a look at the starting five for Wisconsin, and really the guy that Syracuse has to keep their eye on the whole game, the person that the offense runs through, Jordan Taylor, their point guard. It all starts with him.
Yeah, and Jordan Taylor's got a great touch on this Wisconsin offense as we use our CC touchscreen here. And Jordan Taylor, maybe the best point guard remaining in this NCAA tournament now that UNC's Kendall Marshall is out. Taylor, like Scoop Jardine, a senior, and Taylor leads these Badgers in both points per game and assists per game. He's a real floor general, and I think he perhaps has the edge over Jardine. Either way, it's going to be a classic matchup between two great senior point guards. You don't see that too often anymore in the NCAA tournament.
Definitely a big senior leader for this squad. That's really important in that tournament. But I'm going to look at another guy that could be important for the Badgers in this one, Josh Gasser. He's their best three-point shooter, shoots 45.6. That number's not wrong from three-point land. He's just a phenomenal shooter, although he won't ever take too many shots from downtown, and he won't take over games because Jordan Taylor has so much workload that's put onto him. But solid fundamentals all the way around. A lot of ways he can beat you.
And while Gasser, though, you'll find him more on the perimeter. Ryan Evans is a player for Wisconsin who can get to the rim. I think he's the most athletic player on this Badger squad. He actually leads them in rebounding, even though he's only 6'6". He's similar to a Chris Joseph, James Sutherland, CJ Fair type, and that he can get up there and he can dunk some acrobatic style.
And not only him, but another guy that could give the Orange some headaches, Mike Bruzewicz. He can do a lot of hustle plays. He plays really good defense. You might remember him better with the red afro he had going on last year, but this is just a guy that isn't the most athletic guy like Ryan Evans, but he's going to make a lot of plays, and he can do it in so much just out of sheer hustle and determination.
And he's not the only big guy that these Badgers have. They also have Jared Berggren, who's down low in the middle of the defense here for Wisconsin, and he's going to give Rakeem Christmas some trouble. He's got some good size to him, as you see, 6'10", 235 pounds. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with down in the paint for SU to deal with.
Jared Berggren, certainly someone that Rakeem Christmas has got to keep his eye on, but he's the tallest player on the Badgers, the next tallest starter, only 6'6".
So a flat top and a former red afro. This team is very interesting. Both teams looking to do what they haven't done in a while, though. Make the Elite Eight. It's been since 2003 for Syracuse, 2005 for Wisconsin. Last year, Syracuse bowed out to another team from Wisconsin, Marquette, in the second round. The second round being the actual second round, not the round of 64 like the NCAA wants us to call it. Fast break time. I make a statement, and our analysts either dunk it if they agree, dish it if they disagree. Can you handle that pressure?
Oh, I know what to do on a fast break. Don't worry about it.
I've been in these situations before.
All right, right off the top. We know Wisconsin, they like to play that slow style of play. We said it earlier on in the show, a Big Ten staple, so dunk or dish. The slow pace of Wisconsin will be the style of play.
Oh, I'm going to dunk this topic, although that means that Syracuse may not have many fast break dunk opportunities on Thursday night because, as we said earlier, Wisconsin, #1 in the country in points against, just 51 points allowed per game. Now, with that said, though, Ben, if Syracuse can just get into the 60s, that's still not where it usually gets to, but if SU can get into the 60s, that could be problems for Wisconsin. They're only 5-7 on the year when they allow 60 points or more.
I think the Orange will see some of their moments in transition, but overall I'm going to have to dunk this one as well. I think there's no way they can get completely out of this pace that Wisconsin plays, just because when Syracuse runs their offense, they don't have a lot of movement running around. They basically play a lot of isolation, try to drive it to the bucket. I don't think that'll help get out of that offense style.
So backing up a little bit earlier in the show, we heard Jim Boeheim talk about Rakeem Christmas and his improvement and kind of practice time he's put in. So dunk or dish, his improvement continues against Wisconsin.
I'm going to dunk this one. I know he had a little trouble doing those one-handed dunks early on in the NCAA tournament, but I just see the confidence that he has had the past 2 games after filling in for Fab Melo has really surprised me. I guess maybe it's his coach is putting him in. He is showing his faith in him that he can bring him through this. But I mentioned it earlier, 6'10" is their tallest starter. The next tallest is 6'6". I just don't see how Wisconsin's going to be able to beat them out down low.
I'm going to dunk that Rakeem Christmas keeps his level of play up here in the tournament as well. I mean, for a freshman, he played all 20 minutes of that second half against Kansas State when SU looked at as good as it has in quite some time. And for Christmas, you mentioned his confidence being up. I think a lot of it has to do with he's a more confident player playing that 5 now that Melo's out of the mix than he was when he was at the 4. He just naturally likes being closer to the basket.
Yeah, John, you're right. Rakeem Christmas did have a very solid game, the freshman in that second half. Another person with a strong second half, Scoop Jardine, a senior. Syracuse's seniors dunk or dish will be the difference in the ballgame.
I'm going to say a dunk on this one. SU seniors, Chris Joseph and Scoop Jardine. We've heard it throughout the tournament. They've said it. Coach Boeheim has said it, and I think all of the fans and us analysts know it. This Syracuse team only goes as far as its seniors can take them in this tournament. Scoop Jardine, that was a 1-point game at the half against Kansas State. He comes out of the locker room knocking down 3 3-pointers, and then SU, I mean, think about it. Are they ever not playing well when you have Jardine hitting downtown shots and Joseph attacking the basket?
I know Boeheim's been saying it a lot, but I'm going to dish it. I don't think it's really going to be the difference. I think they can be a difference. Scoop, certainly, if he has a good game, that'll go a long way. Chris Joseph as well. But there's just so many other people that can beat you on this team. Trish is probably their best deep shooter. Christmas down low. And then also Waiters. If there's anyone that's going to get them out of the slow pace of play, it's going to be Deion Waiters.
So we've talked about basically every player on both of these teams in under 10 minutes. That's pretty efficient. I'm sure you mentioned your X Factor somewhere in the show. X Factor.
Not so fast, my friend.
Okay.
CJ Fair is my X Factor, and his resurgence. So far, CJ Fair, 2 of 17 in the Big East tournament and the NCAA tournament. This is the one guy who was the only constant throughout the regular season for SU, Mr. Reliable. All of a sudden, I don't think he is necessarily changing his game, taking bad shots. He's just in a funk. The foul line jumpers aren't falling for Fair, but I think he finally turns it around here against Wisconsin, and that's going to be a difference maker in a close game. You need the glue guys, as SU calls them.
Yeah, I'm going to go over to the Badgers for my X Factor. I'm going to go with John Gasser. This is a guy that can make a lot of shots. We talked about him earlier, but he only averages 2.5 3-point shots per game. Now, if he can shoot a lot more than that and make a lot more of those and really get going and get his confidence going, that'll be a huge problem for Syracuse. You see Syracuse is worst when they're down early, and that slows down their offense. They try to huck up a lot of threes and settle for shots. It's going to kill them if they do that.
So I know some people in their brackets were confident that Vanderbilt, not Wisconsin, would be playing Syracuse in this game. That's a prediction gone wrong. Do you have any predictions for this game?
Yeah, I do. Well, I know we just met Wisconsin here, and this March Madness is crazy, but here's my prediction. Did I get it right? Maybe. I say SU beats Wisconsin 64-61. It's going to be a great classic March Madness game that goes down to the wire, one-possession game. Wouldn't be shocked if it's one of SU seniors, Jardine or Joseph, who puts the orange up late, and Wisconsin with a last-second shot perhaps to make it. But remember, Wisconsin chucked up 33 threes against Vanderbilt last time out. I think if they take that many threes against SU zone, then I think the Orange will like that.
Yeah, certainly. I think if Wisconsin is going to beat Syracuse, they're going to have to make a bunch of those threes. But I'm still going to go with Syracuse. I had them in my bracket, my first bracket advancing. I'm going to take them 66-59. I think they'll get into their transition games at times, much like they did during the UNC Asheville game. But overall, I think it's going to be a slow-paced game, but just the Orange's defense is just that much better.
Ben Peck sticking to the script. That does it for our preview of Syracuse versus Wisconsin. I'm sure you're going to want a recap of the game. To do that, it's on OTN, 11 p.m. after Syracuse and Wisconsin on the Orange Television Network, so you definitely don't want to miss that. He's Ben Peck. He's John Nolan. I'm Chris Lewis. Enjoy your night.